plane itself could have carried 182 passengers, but that morning there were only 37 on board, 4 of which were the hijackers. They were flying from Newark, New Jersey, with the intended destination of San Francisco, California. Now, they left the terminal on time at 8:01 a.m., but they were delayed for takeoff, and they didn't take off until 8:42 a.m. There was also 7 crew on board that morning: captain, first officer, and 5 flight attendants. Captain Jason Dahl was a trainer for United Airlines. He trained their pilots. And his first officer was a graduate of the Air Force Academy. And they had both gotten their pilot's license when they were only 16 years old. So they were flying a plane before they were driving a car, and they had never flown together until this morning. Flight attendant Sandra Bradshaw, she was only making 2 or 3 flights per month so she could be home with her 2 small children. Flight attendant Cece Lyles, she had only been a flight attendant for 9 months. Before that, she was a police officer in Florida. She was looking for a safer career opportunity, so she became a flight attendant. Passengers on board Flight 93 ranged in age from 20 to 79. Most, but not all of them, were American. These were ordinary citizens traveling for a variety of reasons, many of them for business. Christian Adams was a citizen of Germany. He worked for the German Wine Institute, and he was flying out to California that morning for a conference on wine tasting. Diara Bodley, at 20 years old, was one of the youngest on board. She was flying out to California to resume her junior year of college. William Kassman and Patrick Driscoll. These 2 were longtime retired friends, and every year they would go hiking somewhere different. That year they were going to go hiking at Yosemite National Park. Lauren Catuzzi Grandpalis had just left Good Housekeeping magazine to write her first book, and she was on her way home from her grandmother's funeral in New Jersey. Jeremy Glick was flying out for a business meeting, reluctantly leaving behind his 3-month-old daughter. Richard Guadagno worked for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. He was a manager of a wildlife refuge on the West Coast, and he had been in New Jersey for his grandmother's 100th birthday party. Toshia Kuge, a citizen of Japan, had been in the U.S. for a sightseeing tour and also visiting U.S. schools. He wanted to come back to the U.S. for college. Donald and Jean Peterson were the only married couple on board the flight. They were both retired, and they were flying out to Yosemite National Park for a family reunion. Christine Snyder